All right, YouTube, long time no see. Bryce Gelman here. Today we're going to be talking about the New York Knicks. Less than 24 hours away from the NBA trade deadline. What do they do? Who do they trade for? What's going on with OG Anunoby's injury? We're going to get to all of that, and we're going to start here with the state of the Knicks. What is going on with the Knicks? I feel like it's been so long since I talked about them, over 2 weeks. The Knicks are sitting pretty right now. The Knicks are one of the top teams in the East. They're 33-18. They're tied for the third seed with the Bucks. And right now, it's a pretty good time to be a Knicks fan, ladies and gentlemen. Like, all things considered, the Knicks are in a better spot right now than they have been in, I'd say, 20 plus years. This isn't like the 12-13 Knicks with Melo, with Tyson Chandler, with Amari Stoudemire, where they built really quickly. They put all their chips in the middle of the table, traded for Carmelo Anthony, made a few signings along the way, but put themselves in a great position to win. But there was a lot going on in the Eastern Conference. You still had to deal with LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh with the Miami Heat. They were never realistically going to get past them. And the Knicks did not build themselves up for the future. They built themselves in a win now mode. And this is not how these current Knicks are constructed. They look good now. They look good 3 years from now because of all these contracts they have that look, as compared to guys of similar value, trade value across the league, like incredible deals. Jalen Brunson is a depreciating deal. He made more last year than he's going to be making this year, next year, and the year after. So right now, the Knicks are set up beautifully for the future. And again, with under 24 hours remaining until the NBA trade deadline, there are a lot of ways that they can go. And the first hypothetical we're going to be talking about here is former Knick Alec Burks. The Knicks supposedly have been in talks, according to Woj, with the Detroit Pistons on Alec Burks. Burks is a Tibbs stable. If you remember, this was one of the most annoying things about the Knicks of 2021, 2022. A team which greatly underperformed expectations, and a team that relied way too much on Alec Burks. Alec Burks played 28 minutes per game, shot 40% from the field. And folks, let's just look at him for who he is right now. He is not much better this year. Of course, Alec Burks brought a lot to the Knicks in their postseason run where they lost to the Hawks in 2020, 2021, a year in which no one thought the Knicks were going to do anything. And Alec Burks led the charge in that second unit. He was a great offensive weapon off the bench, and he played very well for the Knicks. But then I think Tom Thibodeau got way too over-reliant on him. They let him walk in free agency. He went to the Pistons, and now the Knicks supposedly want him back. And I'm a little bittersweet on this. I think I've got a little bias on this too, because I was just so fed up with how often he was playing for Thibodeau. I mean, also that team, you look back at 2021, 2022, the Knicks really did not improve that much after the year before. They added Evan Fournier. They re-signed Derrick Rose. They didn't make moves that were realistically going to impact the team long-term. Looking back on it, I think it's easy to say. Back then, everyone thought Evan Fournier would be the Knicks starting shooting guard for years to come. He had that incredible game against the Celtics on opening night. Everyone thought that Evan Fournier was going to be that guy for the Knicks. And of course, look where it has ended up for him right now. Being a trade piece off the bench, that's realistically his only value on the Knicks. So you look at Alec Burks and you look at a guy on a disastrous Pistons team, a win now type of guy, a guy who can be beneficial for a championship contender. Do I think that Alec Burks will be that guy for the Knicks? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. We know about his defense. We know he's not a great defensive player. We know how inefficient he is. And I think that's my biggest thing right now with a guy like Alec Burks. The Knicks need efficiency off the bench. I mean, I think that's their most important factor going into these trade talks. They don't need a high-volume guy who can go for 25 points every 5 games, but shoots 2 for 10 in every other game. And that is a guy that's the guy that Alec Burks is. That's the type of guy that he is. And you bring him in, you put him on the Knicks. Does he realistically perform any better than that on a game-by-game basis? I don't know. You can look at what he has this year. He's shooting under 40% from the field. Do the Knicks really want a guy who's going to come in and chuck up 10 to 15 shots in this second unit? I don't know. I really don't think so. Do you really want a guy that when put into the game could reasonably have an awful offensive night and ruin your chances of winning on that given night. I don't think so. I don't think as a Knicks fan that I want that for my team. Of course, you put him on the Knicks with all the other guys they have, his usage goes down. He's shooting 39% from the field on a little over 10 shots per game. Does that come down a little on the Knicks? I believe so. I don't think he's going to play as much as he's playing right now on the Pistons. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say with all the depth the Knicks have. And in these trade talks, we really have no idea. We saw the two trades that the Pistons made today. One for Monty Morris, who is the one of those three guys that I think that a lot of people were talking about the Pistons trading with Bogdanovich, Burks, and Morris. They traded Morris. They got 2 second-round picks for him. Do they want a similar return for Alec Burks? That remains to be seen. I think if you're the Knicks, listen, if that's the return, I think you make the trade. Because there are two sides to this coin. And we're going to talk about it in a little here for the Knicks. But one side is the Knicks are good enough to win a championship if they go all in to make a move. So if that all in is enough and that move is enough to put the Knicks over the top as a contender, I think you make that trade. But I really don't know if there's any guy out there who puts them in that conversation. And who's to say that they're not already in that conversation? I'm talking about a guy who puts them above Boston's level. Like does Bruce Brown, who we're going to get into in a second, does he do that? Does Burks do that? I really don't think so. But they are currently on, I think they're just below Boston's level. That in the 7-game series with Mitchell Robinson back, with OG Anunoby in the lineup, with Hartenstein, you stagger the two guys. They both play 20-plus minutes. The Knicks could easily beat Boston in a series. With Boston being as reliant on the three as they are this year, with Joe Mazzulla as their head coach, the Knicks could beat Boston. Realistically, I mean, that's not a crazy thing to say. So when you look at the guys that the Knicks could trade for right now, these guys need to be guys that, listen, if the Knicks, like a guy like Bruce Brown, and screw it, let's get right into Bruce Brown right now. The Knicks are looking to give up a first-round pick and Evan Fournier to the Raptors for Bruce Brown. The Raptors are holding out for a potential second first-round pick. Is Bruce Brown worth 2 first-round picks? Absolutely not. Especially when you're not going to give up Quentin Grimes in that deal. You're going to have 2 to 3 Quentin Grimes, Josh Harts on the roster. These guys are all 3-and-D guys. You need, and as I said just a couple of weeks ago when I discussed my potential trade targets for the Knicks, Bruce Brown being one of them, that the Knicks need to acquire a guy who's going to be able to handle the ball when Jalen Brunson comes out of the game, who's not going to turn the ball over, and who's efficient from the field offensively. Bruce Brown is a great defensive player. Don't get me wrong. But the Knicks are not going to give up Quentin Grimes in that deal. Are you really going to oversaturate the wings on your team yet again? That was a huge issue with the Knicks going into this year, halfway through the year before they traded for OG Anunoby. They had an influx of wings, of guards and wings. Do the Knicks really want to make that same mistake by going all in with the guards and the wings? I really don't think that they do that. I really... Not to say that, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that they're not going to trade for Bruce Brown, but realistically looking at it, does this help the Knicks? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't speak to that. I think they have incredible chemistry right now, and trading for a guy that's only going to make them marginally better, I don't know. That's why when I think about Bruce Brown, a guy who, yes, is could, as I said the last time I spoke about him, could easily make the Knicks the most defensively versatile team in the league. I think that's enticing. I do, but I'm not gonna flip up here. I don't want Bruce Brown in the Knicks. I simply don't want him. If that's the best option, I don't think you go out and get him, especially if the Raptors are asking for 2 first-round picks for him. I don't think that makes any sense. If you're the Knicks, why do you do that? And it's good that they're reluctant right now to trade that second first-round pick. And props to this front office for staying diligent, for staying patient, and for looking for their guy. But their issue with this, and I think that this is, again, reasonable. The Knicks are a reasonable team right now. The reason why they don't want to give up that second first-round pick, because it limits their opportunities in the offseason to make that all-in move. You still have Brunson after this year under contract for 2 more years with this incredible deal. You still have Randall under contract after this year. Yes, you're going to have to pay OG Anunoby. I don't think it's going to be this monstrous amount that's going to hogtie their chances to trade for an impact star player, I don't think OG Anunoby's going to want to do that. I think he wants to win. And Sam Rose, Leon Rose's son, is his agent. So maybe they cut a deal right there. I don't know. It's a little nepotism. Knicks aren't afraid to exploit that with Rick Brunson. But that aside, this Knicks team has the opportunity right now, but even more in the offseason, to put them on that pedestal even higher than the Boston Celtics. And it's incredible to say, because I don't think anyone expected that going into the season. The major talking point, and it's something that I've discussed and a lot of other Knicks fans have discussed over this whole year, is, as the national media likes to say constantly, the Knicks need to trade for a superstar player. Have you noticed that dialogue has died down a little bit? That discourse for the national talking heads has died down a little? Because I have. Because the Knicks have showed that they are a great team, that the Knicks can compete with the Boston. The Knicks can compete with a Milwaukee Bucks team. Speaking of the Bucks, who would have thought that they were going to be this bad? Doc Rivers takes over. He's 1-4 as head coach of the Bucks. Adrian Griffin was not the problem. The Bucks are in disarray. They can't defend a tree right now. Like, they can't do anything defensively. And that's a major issue. They're going to need to make some moves at the trade deadline too. They don't have any assets to give up, and they don't have any movable contracts. So this is an ideal situation for the New York Knicks, because they have flexibility going forward, and they have multiple options. They aren't hogtied to one singular option that is going to bring down the potential of this franchise going forward. So it's a great time to be a Knicks fan. It's a great time to be Leon Rose. It's a great time to be the World Wide West, because right now, the Knicks can do whatever they want. And it's crazy to say that right now. But let's move into one other topic that I wanted to speak about today, and that's OG Anunoby, who is going to be out. I don't know how many games it's been in a row now, but it's got to be 4 or 5, maybe even 6. But OG Anunoby, and they finally they said it was elbow inflammation, but now it's supposedly bone spur irritation in his right elbow. Does this concern me? And should it concern you? I think absolutely it does. I think with all the injuries that the Knicks have right now, they cannot afford a long-term injury to OG Anunoby. It's concerning now, but there is one slightly positive in all of this. And that's the fact that the Knicks are going to give him a little bit of a break. Because as you know, before he got injured, Tom Thibodeau was playing the guy 40-plus minutes a game, throwing him in every impossible defensive matchup that you could throw at him, and he handled it. He took it extremely well, and he became a defensive stopper that I don't think anyone even listen. I'm not going to say that no one expected OG Anunoby to be a top 5-10 wing defender in the league. I think people did, but at the level that he has been on the Knicks and what he has been able to do to completely transform the defense of the Knicks, I think that's a completely different story, and something that I don't think many people expected. But you lose that with OG Anunoby on the sideline with this injury. And you look at the teams that the Knicks are going to play in these next few games, the Mavs, the Pacers, the Rockets, and the Magic before the All-Star break. Keep him out. Keep him out. Even if there's a question, I feel like the playoffs he's probably playing right now, because it didn't seem like he, the game that he played, I think the last game he played was against the Heat. It didn't seem like he was injured over, the end stretch of that game. So, I mean, listen, I'm a little concerned, but we'll see what happens. I mean, if he stays out of these next 4 games for the All-Star break, and then he comes back and they play Boston, their first game out of the break. If he doesn't play against Boston, that's when people are going to be sounding the alarm bells, and rightfully so, because as I said, the Knicks cannot afford another long-term injury, especially with Randall out, especially with Mitchell Robinson out probably another month. It was reported by Tom Thibodeau, by the reporters who asked the question, that Mitchell Robinson is supposedly going to start on-court activities after the All-Star break. That gives him a window that maybe he'll be able to return by mid-March. I think that's hopeful estimation, or for whatever injury he had. It wasn't fully discussed. It was discussed, obviously, the surgery that he had to fix it. But the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson back. They need Julius Randle back. but they need OG Anunoby to play, because if they want to escape this logjam of teams from 5 to 10 in the Eastern Conference, they need to keep winning games. And OG Anunoby affects winning. He helps you win. The Knicks have been able to have some smooth sailing right now, but now Jalen Brunson goes down last night with an ankle injury. That's something you're a little bit concerned about. There are a lot of injury issues for this team that I don't think you see very often. I think it maybe potentially could be traced back to who Tom Thibodeau as a coach, his indignance in playing his players way longer than he should be playing them. And I did see a stat, props to Thibs, that there aren't any Knicks in the top 10 in minutes played per game. I think if OG Anunoby was on the Knicks since the start of the year, he'd probably be number one, but he was traded to them halfway through the year. That remains to be seen. He can easily be a top 10 guy when it's all said and done in the 2024 season. But that's going to do it for this quick little episode. It was good to be back, and it's a good time to be a Knicks fan. We will see what happens with the Knicks here over these next, I want to say, like 18 to 20 hours. Let's hope for the best. And as someone who doesn't want Bruce Brown, let's hope the Knicks don't trade for Bruce Brown. But I'll take Alec Burks if the return for the Pistons is going to be 2 second-round picks. That is fine. That still allows the Knicks to make that move. All right. Enough with the Knicks talk. Enough with the trade deadline talk. I will see you all next week. Thank you all for watching. If you like it, give it a like down below, and please subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.